All right. Well, welcome everyone to our June 2026 NECI webinar. Today, we're going to be hearing a presentation by Henry Reges on the coco-razs network. Um, I'll let him go over his full title here, but just a little bit on Henry. He's beginning his 22nd year as a national coordinator of the coco-razs network, starting this fall. He oversees many aspects of the program, working with coordinators, conducting webinars, to annual fundraising, artistic design, and many other tasks. He's a graduate of NC State and UNC Asheville, which is actually fairly close to where I grew up,
Ah,
and has worked in fire weather in Alaska, the National Climatic Data Center, and with the American Meteorological Society. So he's got a whole plethora of kudos to his name and the like, and we're really lucky to have him speak for us today. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Henry, and if you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen, go
yeah,
for it.
let me get my I got to get the right buttons here. So I'm never that great at this. Okay. Don't want that one. Let me try something here real quick. Sorry, guys. Play from start. There we go. I think that's gonna work. And all right, let me know if you can see the screen.
We got it.
Good, great. And I may look off to the side here because it's a bigger screen and I can read it a little better. My eyes are starting to get old here, but okay. Well, hey, thanks a lot for this opportunity. We really appreciate it. We're part of Extension here at Colorado State University as well, so we know the importance of all the work that you guys do across the country. And it's neat to see some of our actual CoCoRaHS coordinators who work in Extension here on the talk today. So thank you for doing that. We're going to talk about 30 minutes here, talk about the network and how it can help Extension, give some examples, and I think you guys will enjoy this. So, CoCoRaHS Network, citizen scientists measuring precipitation and providing important observational data to the public. That's a mouthful, but we'll elaborate on that here as we go along. Let me get my button here going. There we go. So, precipitation is highly variable. Temperature kind of is same in a lot of places over a short distance, but precipitation, especially as convective storms you see in the winter, in the summertime, can really put down a lot of rain in spots. And a couple of sayings here: what falls at the airport is usually not what falls at your location, and that's pretty much true a lot of times. That especially in these more convective situations, that the uh, airport has the official measurement station, but again, you may not live close to the airport, or the storm may hit the airport and not you. The other one is that most of us have seen summer thunders. I'm getting tongue-tied with this. Seen a summer thunderstorm soak the ground in one location, and a half a mile down the road, it's completely dry. And I'm sure you guys have all seen that happen. Here's a couple of examples in the pictures here. One is I was flying on a plane to Atlanta and saw this rain shaft. I love the window seat, and photography as well. So we got that picture there. You can see where the rain's just hitting a small amount of land there as the shower moves over, and then another one up there in Wyoming. So the gray area is the precipitation that's falling. Well, let's go a little bit about the history of CoCoRaHS. The network was born in response to the 1997 Fort Collins, Colorado flood, a devastating flood that took out a lot of buildings and so forth. And unfortunately, five people passed away in the event. And so it was pretty localized, but it was pretty interesting. And so pictures on the front. If you look on the right, that's Colorado State University, the CSU library there. The second slide down, they just moved all the books to the basement for renovations, and you can see the result of that at the bottom. So they lost a lot of those as well. But the flood pointed out a couple of things, and if you take a look from A to B, the distance there is about 5 miles. And point A is over here where I'm located. That was the epicenter, 14.5 inches. Most of that fell overnight. And point B, about 5 miles away, 2 inches. And that was quite amazing, that tight a gradient with the precipitation. People living at Point B didn't really know there was a flood going on. And so this helped us to, well, we knew already that there are local variations from convective storms, but the important role that individuals can play in measuring and mapping precipitation and reporting it was something that we started out with. So that was the beginnings of CoCoRaHS back. Actually, tomorrow's CoCoRaHS' anniversary. 28 years ago, we started the network tomorrow. So we're a good time to give this talk. So 1998, there we go. As we started that, a few dozen volunteers along Colorado's northern on Front Range in northern Colorado. Today, we have over 28,000 active volunteers in all 50 states. We're in all the provinces of Canada, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, the Bahamas, and Guam. So we've done quite a lot of expansion in our time, and the data has proved to be really valuable to all those folks. We just do precipitation. So it's rainfall data. We're the largest source of daily precip measurements uh, in North America. And snowfall data. So the guys that like snow there to measure it, both the depth of snow, the new and accumulated, as well as the water content, known as the SWE of the snow. So when you hear a 10-to-1 ratio, you know that that's the water content, how much water the inches compared to an inch of rainfall. And then the hail, we measure hail as well. A couple pictures here that I'm transporting the record Vivian South Dakota stone back in 2010 to NCAR. But one of the largest repositories of hail data in the United States. So rain, hail, and snow, just precipitation. There's our website. If you haven't been to it yet, check it out. There's a lot of good resources there, not just for volunteers, for the public to look at. And we've got animations, we've got all kinds of things. And you can always look at our map every day and see what fell around where you live, or maybe you have relatives somewhere you want to see what fell there as well. Observers of all ages and backgrounds. We have all different folks doing this. A lot of our observers are either in school or after around the age 50 and older, because they have more time, it seems. And so that it seems to be the most how do I want to say it? The majority of our observers. They are trained and they take daily measurements at their locations. They get a station number specific to where they are. And there's some of our easy online training animations. And they're fun to watch. And if you have time, take a look at those. They're right on the website. But we also have some other stuff I'll tell you about in a minute with those other animations. Everyone uses a manual gauge. So we have folks all use the same rain gauge or one of these two. We found that the automated gauges do not measure accurately, especially in heavy precipitation. The tipping bucket doesn't keep up as quick with the tip. And so here's two different versions. One is our regular high capacity plastic gauge, sells for around 42. So a hundredth of an inch you can measure with that, and it holds almost 11 and a half inches of precip. And then the tropo gauge, a little more expensive, but that came out a few years ago. We worked with some folks on that. And that holds up to 13 and a half inches, and it's got a couple more bells and whistles on there. So those two are what we ask our observers to use. And you know, we used to give gauges out all the time.
Leading a webinar.
Hello? Oh, no, sorry, somebody had their voice. So we used to give gauges out all the time, and we found out that a lot of times we give them out, we never hear from anybody again. So a little skin in the game by purchasing the gauge, we find we have volunteers that stay with us for a long time. Um, each observer reports 24-hour precipitation. So they do it each morning around 7 a.m. We have a little flexibility on either side of that. There's the CoCoRaHS app. I'll tell you more about that, but they can go right on the app, click a few buttons, and there's the daily precipitation report form on the web. And there's a neat part on that in both where you can put observational notes. So you not only put how much rain fell, but you can put comments. And this one says strong thunderstorms, 7 to 9 p.m., heavy rain for brief period, branches down, continuous lightning, dog was afraid, and so was I. And so you can put all that kind of information in there, and that's kept online. And it helps when you see heavy rainfall to have something or heavy snow, what is it actually did fall, and the notes are helpful with that. So once the observer hits the button, it automatically is available for the public to view and use. We have map and table forms on that. I'll go into the mapping in a second, but you can see all the dots. This is an accumulated amount, I think, over a month across the country. So you can see where we have observers and where we don't. And here's our interactive mapping system. This is something that came online a few years back. We can really drill down with that. It's a very nice a suite of tools you can use there. We can all the way go down to the street level, and you can really see different layers and so forth. What fell in different places. Here's some of the options there: precipitation, snowfall, so forth. And then you can do the when part of that. So you can do the daily, or you can do a custom up to 90 days, which is the growing season in a lot of places. And so that, and then as far as the metric, if you like that, and so forth, or if you're with the Weather Service, the county warning area, and then the different layers. So that's our mapping system. And the data is very important that it's good data, and so it's rigorously quality controlled. Our QC team, Danny and Steve, as well as all of our coordinators out there, take a look at over 250 folks looking at this daily. And well, let's hope not. We don't get replaced in 2035, but you know how things are going. We'll have to look back at that time. But again, the data is really great quality and used by many organizations, including the Weather Service, Extension, and you can name it. There's a lot of folks out there. One thing people don't realize is that the volunteers' data is automatically archived at the nation's climate data center. So NCEI, located in Asheville, North Carolina. So after 100 observations, the data becomes part of the permanent record. So it's kind of cool that that's actually getting in there. And here's take a look at our active stations. So pick out your state, and this is as of June 7th. So there at least one report in the last year, and you can see the number of folks, Minnesota and Texas in the lead with those. But again, the more stations, the better. And it's like the pixels on a camera, the more dots on the map, the better you can tell what fell where. So here's a look as well as the active stations for the last year. And you can see where we have some really concentrated areas and some voids. And again, we'd love to fill those voids in with more observers. So let's look at some precipitation events, some examples over the last year. And we're going to go right to New Jersey to start things off. I can see Matt probably smiling there. And anyway, here's a storm in northern New Jersey, July 15th. And so there's a look, if you can see the dots on there, 6 inches over 5 inches, just north of Rutgers there and Somerset County, or Somerset and Elizabeth area. And then the notes on that. So that's what the map looks like. And it really helps you to pick out what fell where in your local area. Let's go look at some more examples here. These are recent. So this is in the last 2 weeks. And so here's southern Nebraska, central Kansas on June 4th. They had some thunderstorms move through. You can see all the different dots on there and the different colors of how much fell. And then we can zoom in like the Hayes County. So there's a county in pretty rural Kansas out there. And they have 27 observers, which is terrific. And so again, you can really get an idea of what fell throughout your county, what farms, what ranches got the precip, what didn't, and so forth. And so very important having those dots to look at. Here's one, Dallas Fort Worth on June 7th, and that was a week ago Sunday. And so there's a look there you can see as well. South of Dallas, they got some heavy rainfall there, and not as much as you went north. And again, you can zoom in and out on these on the map, and you can get a really good idea of what's at your location. Here's another one, northern Alabama, the next day, as that system moved east. And Huntsville, Alabama, just to the northeast of that, some heavy rain fell there. Southwest Kentucky. So this is the next day on Tuesday. Bowling Green, that area there, Western Kentucky University, that folks to the west of that, heavy rainfall as well. So you kind of get an idea of how helpful this can be. And again, you can zoom in even further on this. And then last week on the 10th, just to the northeast of Ann Arbor, between Detroit and Ann Arbor, they had heavy rainfall as well. And so we can really pinpoint that. And again, the more dots we have, the better we can see of what fell, more observations, what fell in that area. Two interesting examples I want to show you. And people say, well, we have an observer that lives a mile away, so you probably don't need me. But here we go. Here's one, New Braunfels, Texas, just outside of Austin, between Austin and San Antonio, back in May of 2008, and that's 7.12 inches fell in 2 hours. And if you can read the screen, hopefully there, around that 0.07, 0.06, this is one of these pulse thunderstorms that just popped up, dropped everything, flooded out the ranch there, and the observer reported that. So that's helpful to, if that dot wasn't there, we may not have known how much fell in that location, and they were able to put out a warning for that. Um, Here's another one, Everett, Washington, back in 2019. And so 3.35 right there in Everett, and you go just a few miles away, less than a quarter of an inch or around a quarter of an inch. So again, that one observation can really make a difference on the map in taking a look at what had fallen. So uh, you're probably asking, okay, why are CoCoRaHS observations helpful to those in extension? I got a couple of reasons on here. We'll just take a look at these real quick. Numerous trained volunteer observers taking precipitation observations where there are no gauges. And we just showed you there's a lot of emptiness on the maps. Again, official stations, especially co-op stations and weather service offices, few and far between sometimes. So having these supplemental observations are really helpful. Precipitation, the data is at your fingertips and it's free of charge. So you can pull it up anytime, use it, and we can help you download stuff and so forth. You start to learn climatology over time. So you can see year after year after year, we found here in Fort Collins that the rain, we had more rain on the northeast side of town than on the southwest side of town than the northeast side of town. And so that you start to develop a climatology of what falls across your region or your town. And again, station analysis, I'll show you a tool we have for that. You can take a look at each station. You get to know where heavy precipitation, rain and snow or hail is falling in real time. We have something called significant weather reports. I'll show you those in a minute. More accurate measurements than the typical small little thimble gauge, a lot of times that you'll get at the seed store or whatever at the hardware store. These gauges are not your father's rain gauge. These are some really accurate and great things that really give you a good definition of what fell. Um, so again, you get anecdotal reports. So with that information in there, but also for drought, there's a part we talk about there where people can type in things about going on with drought, and drought's important as well. So both drought and flooding in your county, that information is very helpful. There's a platform here too for educating citizens prior to unusual precipitation events. And so people learn about what to do or where to go or how much to measure and so forth. And so over time, they start to develop a sense of where it rains and how to react to that. CoCoRaHS reports are trusted by many agencies, and I'm sure that both Matt and Kevin can attest to that. A lot of people, again, using that, the Hurricane Center, USDA, all different folks actually using our data. And then increased awareness of areas typically inundated with heavy precipitation. So you begin to realize, wow, okay, these guys, when the storm comes through, they get a lot of precip here. So we can plan on what to do or what that means in certain areas of our county. So again, some helpful stuff out there for those in extension. And one of the things we found out that extension, again, master gardeners. Um, the Many states now are issuing continuing education credits to master gardeners if they have a CoCoRaHS gauge at their location to report precipitation to the network. So that's a neat benefit, and there's a lot of master gardeners involved. I know each land grant university has those in each state with extension. And then master naturalists, that's another That's been going gangbusters in a lot of places. Texas is knocking a home run with those guys, and a lot of master naturalists becoming involved again in CoCoRaHS. So we have for the Master Gardeners, we have a climate guide on there. We're working on updating that, but there's some really neat educational tools you can use with that. I think we'll talk about that a little later. Uh, Additional educational resources. So we have an educational series of for CoCoRaHS as animations, water cycle, all different things on there, what's drought and so forth. So these are, in fact, our water cycle one has had over 1 million hits. So a lot of people using that. A lot of classrooms do that. And sometimes, it's only like 8 minutes long. They'll put that into a extension training somewhere when folks are interested in finding out the precipitation uh, part of their education there. We have Weather Talk webinars, and we cover a lot of different things with that, a lot of different topics. We have experts come in. I think we've got 96 webinars now over time. So you can learn a lot from those. They're all archived, YouTube. You can go back. You have trouble falling asleep at night. Here you go. You can put those up and watch those. And we're educating too, as far as how to report your landscape's condition. I'll talk to you in a minute about condition monitoring, but we have a thing where you can take a look and see if it's dry, wet, or normal in your area. We've got a whole guide on how to look at your local conditions there. Those go to the U.S. Drought Monitor, and so that information is looked at weekly, and so we'll get to that here shortly. And then, people wonder about climate change. Well, some people are skeptical, some people are not. And what is climate change? And so hopefully by having a rain gauge in your yard, you can start to see, wow, okay, I'm seeing a difference now. What's happened in the last 10 years? So observers can actually see for themselves how that's affecting their location by tracking year after year uh, precipitation and the frequency of these heavy rainfall events that we're seeing more as the air is warm and can hold more moisture. So again, that's another neat thing with CoCoRaHS where folks can, if you have folks asking your extension, what about climate change? This is a good way to actually let them see it for themselves. Okay, some other reports. We'll go quickly through these. Significant weather reports and hail reports. So what we have, both on the app and on the web, if you have heavy rain or snow or you have hail falling, you can go right on your app and report a significant weather report or hail report. These instantly go to the National Weather Service. They set an alarm on they have an AWIPS, it's called AWIPS workstation. So that's where they get all the information that comes in. It flashes right on the screen and it comes in real time. So you can do that in real time at your location. Very helpful in criteria for regarding flash flood potential. You might have upstream in some of these areas, nobody really lives up there, but a few stations helps save lives downstream. And as far as severe thunderstorms with the hail, that helps as well. So again, some really neat things that you can do to help those in your neighborhood or in your area by reporting these events when they happen in real time. So I mentioned condition monitoring earlier. So it's early drought detection, basically. And so we're taking a look at the condition of your your land. What my ponds are they wet? Are they dry? Are vegetation being affected? The ski slopes, not enough snow this year. It's affecting recreation. All this information is really helpful to the drought monitor. And you've probably seen the drought monitor before, where it goes from D0 all the way up to D4. And for crop insurance and so forth, these are important things. So by having folks report their conditions, they get a better anecdotal look at what fell in over that county, because one county part of the county can be wet, one could be dry. And again, we ask observers to do this every Sunday or at least once a week, and that way the drought authors can look at that uh, Monday, Tuesday before they put out their maps on Thursday. So another way folks can contribute and to help their county to know what's going on as far as the actual precip or dryness there. We also have an option for folks to work with reference ET. So what goes back up into the air. And so here we have a ET gauge. It's ceramic head covered with fabric mimicking alfalfa or grass. A lot of folks used to use evap pans. We now have folks using these. And we map it, we put it all on our CoCoRaHS website. You can kind of detect flash drought and stuff like that with it. It's not something for everybody. The gauge is a little expensive, but again, there's another option for folks if they're interested in doing something like this. Okay, other tools, and we're almost done here, so we're going to go come in quickly. The CoCoRaHS Data Explorer, and I cannot say enough about this. This is a great thing that was developed about 2 years ago. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water here as we're going. Where we can take a look at each station, your own station or any station out there. And there's a lot of different tabs you can take a look at. I just pulled up on here the different dials for the month. How are we doing compared to normal? We can compare, say, what's my station looking like? Is it dry? Is it above normal? What's it look like? For the year, how am I doing so far for the year with precipitation? And then the water year. And you guys are familiar probably with the water year, which goes from October through September. Uh, and it takes a look at what fell there. So that's just one of the tools. There's other ones you can map stuff on there. Check it out. It's on the website. Anybody can use it. You can look at any station, and it gives you a good picture of what's going on over time. I would have loved this as a kid to have this at my disposal back in the old days. But again, it's out there for anybody to use. The app, real quickly, so it's really easy to use. You can get it on the Google or the Apple Store. You can put in your daily precipitation, a couple clicks, and away it goes. There's the other one for condition monitoring. So you can put in the different categories there, moderately dry, wet, and so forth. You can type in your anecdotal stuff. And also there's a place for notes on the other one. There's a lot of different tabs you can use to that, but that gets the information in quick. This is a new thing that came out about 2 years ago as well, and it's really slick. So hopefully you'll get a chance to try that and download it. There's the QR code if you're looking to see where you can get it. Okay, so here's my appeal to everybody out there. We need help. And when I say we need help, we need more observers. We always do because observers come, it's like water in a pipe. It enters, it stays there for a while, and sometimes it leaves. So the observers come in, they do it. Hope we've got folks doing this 24, 30, 22 years now, 23 years that are still doing it. And then it people retire, sometimes they move, pass away, and so forth. So we always want to replace observers because that really helps the whole national network. And so I took a picture here, looking back over the last year in May, going back of counties where we have zero observers. And so if one of these counties looks close to you, it would really help if we had some folks there. Would love to have 5 to 10 observers in every county because that would really give a fantastic picture of what falls across the state and so forth. But again, these are some places where we could definitely use more observers, but we can use them everywhere. Okay, you're saying, how do I become an observer? I'm interested in this as well. And so, 5 easy steps. One, sign up on the CoCoRaHS webpage, and there's a little place there you can put in your information. Obtain a 4-inch plastic rain gauge. We don't sell them, but there are third-party distributors on our website you can take a look at. Be careful on Amazon. There's a lot of knockoffs that really aren't that good, those gauges that they kind of claim to be like the ones we have. Trust the ones, if you can, on our website for that. View the slideshow and the animations because these are helpful. Get you started. You can find where to put the gauge in the yard, how to set it up, how to measure, and it's really simple. So it's not a hard thing to do. Anybody can start with this. Set up the gauge in a good location at your place. So you want to, if you can try to get a place where there's not a lot of trees around, don't put it too close to the house, the deck. A lot of times it'll block the precip or you get splash off the roof. So, ideal location is out a little bit on the lawn. Stay away from sprinklers, of course, but again, you want to have it convenient, but open to the sky. But we want you to have fun with it too. We want folks to try it. So it's better than nothing to have observations out there because you're learning about precip and you're learning how to measure and so forth. So have a good time with it too. We have what's called a multi-day report. So if you go away for a few days, you put what you got when you started, when you went away, and then when you came back, you can measure it and you can do that. So we want this to be a fun activity, and a lot of people really love it. I was saying earlier that we have some retirees, their wives write in and they say, "Thank you for giving my husband something to get up in the morning to do." And so again, it's a neat activity. You do it a few times, you'll really start getting addicted to doing this, and then start observing precip. Just get out there. The worst place to keep the gauge is in the box. Make sure as soon as you get that, take it out of the box, even stick it out in the driveway because you want to start measuring right away. I know folks get a gauge and sometimes it sits in the garage in the box for a long time. Get it out there and start measuring. With that, I say thank you, and I really appreciate the time to talk to everybody out there today. I've got time for questions, and there's my contact information. So thanks again, and hopefully this was helpful for folks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Henry. Also, sorry for the small interruption earlier. I got my mute button confused. So it looks like we have Alicia who has her hand raised. So why don't you take it away with the first question?
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. This was super interesting. I kind of have a technical question, and I was actually a little surprised. I'm here in the Florida Keys. I'm the county extension director,
Oh,
and
wow, sure.
and I really think some of our volunteers, master gardeners, master naturalists, and other folks that volunteer with us in extension, be very excited about this. I was a little surprised to see all the dots already in the keys. And so word must have gotten out somewhere. Um, I think one of the barriers I may have is we do have a significant part-time population that volunteer with us. They come in the winter and they'll go back home somewhere in the summer. Is it is it impossible to do sort of partial year
No,
monitoring, or is that I don't want to lead with showing this to folks if it's really not ideal to do that.
no, actually, it's great to have folks do whatever they can. And so we have a lot of folks, and in the Keys, I was down there not too long ago with the Weather Service in Key West. We went to Marathon and Key Largo, put up posters, and that's where we recruited more folks. But that's fine. We have snowbirds, as we might call them, that go back up north. So some people have a station up at their home where they live out of state, and then the time that they're in Florida on the Keys measuring. And that's perfectly fine. We can set up two stations for them where they go back and forth with that. But even if folks don't do it back home and just want to do it during the months there in the Keys there in Florida or anywhere in the country, that's great. I mean, any data is better than no data. And so people will also learn. And that's the other part, the educational component of this. Try it, get out there, see what falls, see about the patterns. You learn your decimals. My wife and I now will be sitting there and say, "Wow, it really rained. What do you think?" "Yeah, I think we got half an inch." And sure enough, it's close to that. So you start learning those things after time. But yeah, by all means, I encourage you to recruit as many as you can there. Again, Keys have been a tough spot, and visit with the guys at the Weather Service there. They are great, and they know all about us, and they can help you out as well.
Yeah, that's great. We have a great relationship with them. I was on the phone with one earlier today trying to figure out when the wind's going to switch and blow the sargassum off our shores.
Yeah,
So so that's great. And that makes a lot of sense that you've been down here. That's why there's so many like little dots. But
that's
thank
a,
you.
that's a great place. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
And Alicia, I'll say that we've got some of our Wisconsin folks that are reporting here in Wisconsin in the summer and out of Florida in the winter. So that is common. And we actually have one of the CoCoRaHS gauges here at the extension office in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a great idea is to put them up at the extension office because you can show folks, they can look and see what was reported at the office if you have room for that. And I know I'm trying to think, well, different places, FSA and others do that at their places as well. But It's nice to have a gauge on hand too to show folks.
So a couple more questions came in the chat.
Okay.
One from Hassan. Do you have a flyer we can circulate to our contacts? And also, great presentation, Henry.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we've got one on the website, and um I can email you after that with the information, and maybe you can send it out or put it with the recording or stuff. It's a downloadable flyer, but we also have flyers as well. So we have them tailored to each state. You can contact me for that information. I'll be glad to send it to you. We have brochures if you would like some. We'll be glad to mail them to you as well. So glad to get the word out. If you have a helicopter and can drop them over an area, it's even better. So
Yeah, rent out the Goodyear blimp for a little bit and
there you go.
okay. And then Paula Chappelle is asking, is there any of the CoCoRaHS data being used in peer-reviewed papers or by the IPCC and their assessment reports? Also,
Yeah.
do you have any suggestions for websites or apps that present weather history data?
Okay. That second part of that question again.
Also, do you have suggestions on websites or apps that present weather history data?
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not
he he gave like a link from Copernicus, but wonder if there's some other tools out there and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the history stuff. So
Mhm.
there a guy named James Fleming out of Colby College in Maine does a lot of history over time with weather. And he would be a good contact for that stuff. James Fleming, he's a CSU graduate, but he's really excellent with that. And okay, I'm forgetting what you said at the beginning there again.
Oh, is any of the data, CoCoRaHS data being used in peer-reviewed research or IPCC or other sorts of assessment
It
reports?
is. It's used all the time. We've got a list of papers. We try to keep up with those on our website, where it's appeared in journals and so forth. But a lot of folks are using it. One just came out recently. I forget what journal it was in, but definitely used. As far as the IPC, the IPPC. Okay, I'm gonna mess that up. But that report, uh, WMO has been interested in our stuff. So I'm sure some of that does go into um, that assessment, but I'm not exactly sure how.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
IPTC, there we go. I knew I had the acronym somewhere.
Okay, so we don't have any other questions in the chat at the moment, but I think I have maybe it's a little bit of a silly question.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. You have the entire map of places where we have our CoCoRaHS stations. I'm going to say we because I count myself even though I don't have one. Um,
I have to sign
it-
up after this webinar. No.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
been meaning to, if I'm being honest. If I told Dave Robinson I didn't have one, he'd be like, "What's wrong with you?"
I'll talk to Dave later. No.
But if you had to pick an area, maybe of personal interest to you that you could maybe either start sampling or increase the density of samples, where do you think would be a good place, or what would you like to see or like explore more?
Well, one place I grew up on Long Island in New York, and there's a real absence of observations in a place like that, and that's where I learned weather and so forth. And I was recently there back in April. Both the North and South Forks of Long Island, not too many observations, a lot of farms and stuff out there. So that's one place that in my on my heart that I always want to see more observations. Places throughout the Midwest, there's places there. There's a lot of metropolitan areas that somehow have observations, but again, they're missing some in some counties. So any place, more rural is always helpful because there's not a lot of information out there. And where you are, Southern New Jersey, we need more folks down in that area. We've always said that in the New York metropolitan area, Westchester County. But then if you go Florida as well, northern Florida, we could use a lot more observations up there. We see a lot along both coasts, but the interior is kind of sparse for that. And that can be said in a lot of places. California, I was just in Los Angeles. A lot of people live there. They do get that winter precip, and so we could definitely use more folks in those kind of places.
That's great.
David's got his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Hey, Henry, thanks. Sorry I had to drop off for a few minutes, so I may have missed something, but I wonder if you could, by the way, I just bought a rain gauge, so I will be joining your network as soon as it arrives. Um, my question is, how could you talk a little bit more about sort of how you've observed people in the extension system, or maybe a Colorado State specifically, incorporating this resource that you represent into their programming?
Yeah, so you may not have heard me talk about Master Gardeners earlier, but that's a group that really has around the country has really taken on with CoCoRaHS, and so those folks are doing it. I know the what the different farm networks and stuff like that have incorporated that in. Extension, different extension agencies, so they'll put out brochures and stuff like that for folks when they come by. I don't know of any specific, and Dave or Kevin Erb can probably talk more about extension on how they're using that in extension as being Kevin, you got an answer to that?
Yep. So I can jump in here. So within the upper Midwest, we now have a six-state network that has what we call our Runoff Risk Advisory Forecast, or RRAF. And that's a tool that integrates soil moisture data, precipitation data, and the weather forecast to give farmers an idea of whether it is safe or not safe to land apply manure or biosolids. That actually started here in Wisconsin more than 15 years ago, and the CoCoRaHS data from more than 800 stations here in Wisconsin, more than 1,500 in Minnesota, plugs into that. And so that data is underlying the soil moisture and particularly the snowfall in winter, whether we're going to see runoff risk from melting snow or warming temperatures or precipitation. So we're using it there. I've tried correlating some of that data to predict groundwater contamination and look at when homeowners should be sampling wells for contaminants. I've not had enough data points, unfortunately, to get something statistically valid at this point. But from a crop production agricultural perspective, a number of my crops and soils colleagues are looking at the data before they're heading out into the field to work with producers to get an idea of where precipitation occurred.
Thank you. Could I follow up with
Sure.
one? So to me, it kind of sounds like your role, and are you doing well? Firstly, your role sounds to me like someone who's taking the data and manipulating it using your research skills to make it available for advising a variety of constituencies, if I got it right. So part of the question is, do a lot of states that have this work going on have an equivalent of you to do that for them, or are you doing it for the whole system? Or you probably said that, but I missed that.
So my role is more of a spark plug where I can make the connections and let other people run with things. That's what I tend to do. And so I was the one that brought the National Weather Service together and the regulatory agencies originally here in Wisconsin to look at the idea of using this as a tool. Um, right now, my primary extension role is coordinating professional development and training for agronomists, crop consultants, and agency staff around ag and water quality issues. So plugging the data in and working with folks to get them to use it. But having come from a farm, having seen the real value of having this data, that's why I'm engaged as a coordinator. And so my supervisor has said that I can spend a small percentage of my time helping recruit additional people and looking at those connections across extension programming. I'm within Wisconsin's Extension's Natural Resource Institute, so I'm connecting with the Master Naturalist and the Water Action Volunteer Stream Monitoring Program as part of my regular job. and here in the county office, working with the community garden coordinators to try to gauge us more in proximity to some of the urban gardens that we have here in town.
Thank you.
And David, up there in Cornell, I would recommend so Art DiGaetano, you may know Art,
Yeah.
and Nicholson, both of those guys can tell you a lot about CoCoRaHS and how it's used and stuff in their work, and they're probably close to where you are.
Who was the other person besides Art?
Keith Eggleston, he's the state
Oh,
climatologist.
yeah. 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 Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Don't believe we do. I
All
will
right.
say
I'm gonna
it's
ask one more then.
okay. I will say before you speak, David, it's really fun to just hear names of people I just know and work with being thrown around. So it's a lot of fun.
So here I am, a new volunteer in New York State with the rain gauge. I know there's some really cool videos online that will sort of help me learn how to do what I'm supposed to do. Is there any kind of like online or other kind of sort of curriculum, if you will, that goes along with it, that the master gardeners use to sort of learn more about the data they're collecting, how to do it, and how to use it?
Yeah, so we've got definitely you go to our training page and they'll show you how to learn how to set your gauge, how to collect it, what it's used for, and so forth. There's more videos and animations on that. There's a lot out there that you can learn from that.
Okay.
But have Art over for dinner. He can show you how to set that up for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's also thinking more about, our colleagues who may be listening to this webinar later and sort of like how much exists out there to help them if they want to pick this up and run with it. So,
There's plenty, and we can help from here too. So don't hesitate to contact us. Each state has a state coordinator as well. And so there's a state coordinator and then 4 or 5 regional coordinators. And Kevin's one of those. Matt as well as a state coordinator in New Jersey. So there's different folks that can help you or help the different extension agencies within their county areas.
I
thank
know
you.
some states it's been the state state climatologist that has kind of taken the lead on some of the extension work, and other states it's been the an individual within the master naturalist or the master gardener program that has. So there's nothing uniform out there that I'm aware of. But that doesn't mean, Henry, that you and I shouldn't start thinking about putting together a list of who's got what out there either.
That's a great idea, Kevin.
And then one final question that's popped up in the chat from Paul. Is there a global equivalent or similar efforts in other countries to CoCoRaHS?
They've started some of these things. It's funny. I was working with the World Meteorological Organization in Geneva, so they're equivalent to part of the UN, and they look at these different countries. There's nothing quite as large as ours, but there's one in England that does. I forget what it's called. Something rain there. Um, some places are trying, but there's not a lot out there. And it's one thing we really want to promote is more citizen science, those folks in those countries doing that. We've gotten the word, a lot of times they don't have the resources and so forth to start this, the affordability of gauges and so forth. But a lot of your developed countries are working with stuff similar to this.
Awesome.
And you'll notice that within the Colorado State CoCoRaHS mapping system, there's entries from Canada and Mexico in there as well.
I was going to say I saw a presentation on CoCoRaHS a few months ago. They were claiming that was international. So
It is. Well,
yeah,
Canada, we're in the Bahamas. We got a grant from the WMO to get started in the Bahamas, and that's been really helpful to the Weather Service there. And then some of our, well, Canada, I mentioned Canada, but some of our places like Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, that helps a lot and help with the Hurricane Center uses that information all the time. So.
well, that's fantastic. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up, but I really want to say thank you so much, Henry, for the fantastic presentation. I hope everyone that attended is inspired to pick up a rain gauge and join the CoCoRaHS network. And yeah, so again, thank you everyone for attending. We will aim to have this up on the NECI YouTube site. And if you have any questions or follow-up for Henry, obviously his info is there, but also you can get in touch with me or David, and we can put you in touch with Henry as well. So again, thank you all so much.
Thanks for having me.